Jawohl, Herr Hitler. The man who single-handedly relegated the toothbrush mustache to the ash heap of history. That is until one man stepped up to return the toothbrush mustache to its former place of glory. Was ist los? That is a very disturbing image, and I'm talking about the one without the toothbrush mustache. But, now there's trouble afoot. Darren and Karen, they see my toothbrush mustache, and they get all bent out of shape. They're offended by it. It's making them very uncomfortable. So they call 911, and these guys show up. How many times do we see this unfold where someone didn't like what somebody was doing, or what they were saying, or what they were wearing, or what they were thinking, or the message on their damn bumper sticker, on their shirt, or maybe it's their tattoos, but they get offended for whatever reason, and they call the cops, and the cops end up arresting the person for no other reason than, well, somebody said that whatever it was you were doing made them feel uncomfortable. And I get arrested for making Darren and Karen feel uncomfortable because they were offended. Here's how you start your defense strategy. It always begins with, what was it that motivated the officer to make the unlawful detention in the first place? Someone said they were uncomfortable. And why were they uncomfortable? Because of a mustache. But that's not a crime. And the police are trying to criminalize non-criminal acts, or in this case, facial hair. It's not a crime. I can't be held criminally culpable for the wussified reaction of Darren and Karen. But like everything else the police get involved with in this country nowadays, they are going to figure out a way, by hook or by crook, to criminalize it. They're criminalizing a mustache because of someone's reaction to it, which I can't control. I'm just minding my business. And by the way, where's the victim? I would be the victim. No victim, there's no property damage. There's no threat to individual life or liberty or anything. I don't want to live in a country where the police set themselves up as the arbiter of discomfort or relative comfort, the anti-discomfort police. The Supreme Court said they don't have a duty to protect. So they don't have a duty to protect our bodies, but they do have a duty, according to their own words and deeds, to protect our feelings. You know, you can't just even comprehend the level of stupid. I mean, it's just malicious stupidity on the part of the average police officer in this country. Mounting a defense strategy. Okay, how about this? What if I'd been sporting that mustache for 10 years and nobody had said anything in 10 years? And then it happens. The stars and the moon and the sun all align, and I happen to encounter these two idiots, Darren idiot and Karen idiot. And they get offended at everything. Maybe they call the cops all the time. I can't control that. And I'm not shaving a mustache off because of these two to assuage their weirdness. Now, it's not how life works, unless you think like a cop. So all of a sudden, because they complain when nobody else did, now there's a crime afoot? And I have to give up my ID because of these assholes? I lose my First and Fourth Amendment rights and my 14th Amendment rights? Yes, that's exactly right. Happens all the time. It's playing out every day all across the country. American law enforcement have set themselves up as the feelings police. That's not a country I want to live in. In fact, it makes it impossible. But they cater to it. They love it because they get to make contact and demand ID. That's what it all comes down to. Leave it to the legacy of American law enforcement to leave behind a system and a country that is unlivable. Because now I have to think ahead for the rest of my life. Gee, if I say or do anything, or I have a bumper sticker or a t-shirt slogan or a tattoo that they don't like, I have to worry about somebody out in the future I don't know anything about. I don't even know I've made contact with them. Making a call to 911 and all of a sudden the cops show up and I go to jail. Unless I give up my rights. Got it. Are you following what I'm saying? Now I can't do anything out of fear that someone might call, claim to be offended or made uncomfortable, and the cops show up and enforce it. But what if there was never any call in the first place? And you take that out of the equation because that's what the cops hanging their hat on, right? Somebody called. They said that you made them uncomfortable. So take the call out of the equation. This is your defense strategy. Another rung in the ladder. Yeah, you take the call out. So, officer, you don't take a call. Instead, you and I run into each other while you're on duty. Instead, the officer's seeing the mustache for the very first time, looking at that mustache through his own two black, beady little eyeballs. So what are you going to do in that situation, officer? In fact, I just did you a big favor, officer, because I have removed the middleman and woman. You don't have to wait for them to call. You're seeing a potentially offensive item being facial hair right in real time in front of you. And you've already demonstrated that you care so much about people's feelings that you're willing to arrest people for it. Wait, officer, here's another question for you. What if the person doesn't comply with your demand for ID or your threats of arrest? All of a sudden, now you've set yourself up not only in a position to make an arrest, but now you're going to use force and violence in the event of non-compliance? The officer's answer is a foregone conclusion. He's not going to do anything. He ain't going to do shit. He knows it. He's not going to detain me, demand ID, make an arrest, or even use force and violence because his job is to enforce community facial hair standards. What if somebody complained about his mustache? What if somebody else felt, or at least claimed to feel, offended because of his mustache? The standard that he set to make the detention, demand ID, make an arrest, and possibly use force and violence is somebody said they didn't like something, that they were offended or they were made uncomfortable by something. Officer, your mustache makes me uncomfortable. Now what are you going to do? They set themselves up by creating impossible standards. Every good defense attorney knows that you always scrutinize the reason why the officer was there in the first place and the law enforcement actions, if any, they took as a result of why they were there in the first place. They're there because someone was uncomfortable. And the enforcement actions the officer took was because I had made somebody uncomfortable with my mustache, not because the mustache itself was a crime. And now when you take out the mustache and substitute all sorts of other very practical what ifs, the things that we do every day in American life, and people start realizing, wait a minute, if I have play with your sausage daily on a bumper sticker and it only takes somebody saying it offended them, that it made them uncomfortable, I think most normal-minded people would call that pathetic. I really like to put together defense strategies. I usually come up with at least one thing that other people haven't thought of already. I probably have done it in this presentation. I think there's going to be more than one. It's just something that I do. I like doing it. I'm pretty damn good at it. And something else I'm pretty damn good at is writing books. Two in particular, Rise of the Oathbreakers and Rise of the Oathbreakers Part 2. The only way we're going to prevail is to get the American people educated. Think about this holiday season. Gifting one or both books, Rise of the Oathbreakers, Rise of the Oathbreakers Part 2, to somebody you really care about. This isn't just giving them the gift of education so they can stand on their own 2 feet during a police interaction. Think about it this way. Giving them the gift of education through those 2 books is like giving them the gift of freedom. Get educated, America.